wanted to know what your take is on like the question of evil and why, if we're the chosen people, why terrible things happen to us with the beginning of our religion and probably well into the future.
Hopefully not well into the future. The first thing is I've been tackling this so much because it's coming up again and again and again. Let's just deal with this topic of chosen people because it grates people so much, and I can understand why, because it's like, what are you saying? You're chosen, I'm not. Like, you're supreme, I'm inferior. Like, what are you saying? It sounds like that, and that, by the way, is the biggest anti-Semites, certainly of today. They raise this as their biggest gripe against Jews. And I find it quite surprising, by the way, because actually most religions claim in some way that they have some kind of special chosenness. Lots of nations do as well, claim that they're in some ways chosen, have some kind of divine destiny. Ironically, Judaism is one of the few religions which says you don't need to be a Jew or believe in this faith in order to get to heaven or have a relationship with God, whereas many other faiths will say you're condemned to eternal hell, right? So it's a lot less exclusionary. And also anyone could become Jewish if you want to, but it actually discourages conversions because it says that if you're created, yeah, we're meant to have Jews, but we're meant to have non-Jews as well, who each have an essential role in this plan. So the question is, what does chosenness mean? So chosenness essentially means this. When the Jewish people leave Egypt, they leave slavery in Egypt, and they go to Mount Sinai and they're given this Torah, God refers to the Jewish people as his firstborn. So what is a firstborn? The firstborn among children is, in Jewish thought, is the one that the child that takes primary responsibility for bringing the values of the parents to the children, for setting the example. And that is essentially what the Jewish people, we believe, were chosen for. They were chosen to do a specific role. It's not chosen, end of story, chosen for a mission, a purpose, which is to be basically the priests of the world, the people that are meant to be a conduit for the divine, a vessel for the divine, to bring God's vision for the kind of world he wants to all of humanity, which ironically actually makes all of humanity in many ways the end point. The Jews are in some ways just the vessel. And so they're meant to sort of be the teachers, the priests, and the conduits through which God can have a relationship with all of mankind. They're meant to be the blessings of the world. The funny thing is, Jews have a chosen people within the Jewish people, which is the Kohanim, the priests. We have the high priest, and you don't see Jews saying, "Hey, why can't we be the high priest?" Although ironically, there was someone in the Torah called Korach who said this: "We're all equal," and the earth swallowed him up immediately. Because I think one of the messages here is that this notion of everyone having all the same roles and everyone being exactly the same is not an idyllic world. What is an idyllic world is everyone having their own unique role in the world, the dignity of difference. If we're all the same, then we're all dispensable. And so the Jewish people have a unique role. So, a teacher in a classroom, hey, that's not fair. What are you saying? You're better than everyone? It's not a question of better or worse. In some ways, the students are more important because they're the ones that become the leaders of tomorrow. I'm so excited to share with you something that I've been working on for a while. We've just taken JTV content to the next level. Introducing JTV Plus, a new platform streaming exclusive content created and handpicked by me. Get ready for jaw-dropping documentaries, exclusive interviews, insider access, and so much more. JTV Plus brings you captivating stories that will shock and inspire you. Stories that, honestly, I'm discovering for the first time too. From Israel to Jewish history to Judaism, it's all there. In exclusive interviews, you'll hear guests open up about things they've never shared publicly before. Plus, I'll take you behind the scenes where I get a lot more personal with you. By joining JTV Plus, you're not just joining an exclusive community, you're partnering with me to help JTV reach new heights. Just search j-tv.plus and join our exclusive community today. There's a link in the video description. I'll see you there. And so it's really about responsibility. Now you ask, why were the chosen people for this role have so much suffering? This is part of the challenge of being the teacher in the classroom. The teacher in the classroom has to deal with a lot of rebelliousness, a lot of kicking and screaming, a lot of challenges. And that really has been the story. It's not easy. I mean, I think it was a line in Fiddler on the Roof: "Can't God choose someone else?" You know, it is a burdensome, challenging role. But one will find is just the truth of life, that often the most worthwhile and meaningful things contain the most struggle and challenge. It's just the way it is. So, you know, being a parent is a lot more stressful and challenging and tiring than not being a parent and just not having kids. But it's also the most rewarding and the most meaningful. And this was a message of Moses at the end of the Torah. He stands up to the Jewish people. They're about to enter the promised land. He's about to, I always get very emotional at this, but it's so sad. You know, he takes them through all these challenges, but Moses can't go into the promised land. But he stands there and he says, you're going to go into this land, but soon afterwards you're going to get dispersed. You're going to have exile. You're going to be persecuted by the nations. It's going to be hellish. So it's like, great pep talk. You know, where's this going to go? And he finishes by saying, here's my recommendation for you. Choose life. L'chaim, which means to life. What does choose life mean? Like what? Breathe, don't commit suicide? Like, no, that's what it means is don't focus on the quality of your existence because it's going to be challenging and rough. Life means in whatever situation you're in, look at what I can do to elevate the world around me. Whatever position I'm in, what can I do to serve the needs of those around me and to serve? And that's what choosing life means. And goodness me, the Jewish people have been, I'm generalizing, but in terms of conduits for bringing these values to the world, the Torah and the Hebrew Bible is such an anchor and pillar of Western civilization, of liberal democracy in the West, of values that we all take for granted today, but didn't come from ancient Rome and ancient Greece, like the sanctity of human life and world peace as an ideal, justice and equality before the law, family values as the basic building block of society, social responsibility to take care of the poor and the needy. You know, it really kind of, history has borne this out. But it's not inevitable. We certainly do not believe it's inevitable that people, you know, having this role necessarily means challenge and suffering forever. Because what our hope and our prayer is that rather than people who have persecuted or hated Jews, perhaps for resenting this role they have, perhaps for a variety of reasons, that instead of having that resentment or whatever it is, they can get on board with it and we all play our role in that story. And that is what Judaism and Torah actually teaches us will be an inevitable, that all of humanity will play its part in the symphony of this creation eventually. And then the nations and the Jewish people will all be able to fully come into their role in a healthy, happy classroom where there's no more strife, but actually it's all positive.
Why couldn't God just from the beginning decide that we could have had that responsibility in that role, but without like the problems with genocide and sort of terror stuff? Like what?
Yeah, honestly, this is the question of suffering. Why is there suffering? Why is it that people who are good? Why is it that people who, through no fault of their own, have to suffer all these terrible misfortunes in life? And the first thing to note is that Torah and Judaism teaches that there absolutely is a reason for everything that happens. Because if you believe in a creator, that means the creator is creating. No one who else is doing it other than the creator. So he's the one that's doing it, and he's a creator, not a destroyer. He is good, he's not evil. And so therefore, you know, if God was a Nazi, well, there's your explanation, right? But no, God is good. And so we believe that everything God does is good. So actually, that's why the sages of the Talmud, they don't ask, why do bad things happen to good people? They ask, why do the righteous suffer? They know there's a reason, but why did God have to make the world this way, where all this suffering and difficulty, precisely as you described, happens? And we don't know the answer, but we believe there is an answer. We just will get that at a later point in history. And 2 points to note on this. So number one is that knowing that there's a reason, even if you don't know that there is a reason, can often be exceptionally important, if not essential, for going through challenge and suffering. It was Friedrich Nietzsche who said, I don't need to know why, I just need to know there is a why. Or I think it was, anyone can survive a how as long as they have a why. By the way, even light suffering, where you think it's just random and accidental, is intolerable compared to harder challenges, but you know there's a reason for it. So knowing that is really, really important. Second point, there's actually 3 points to make. Second point is, if I gave you a reason, that would actually make the problem even worse right now. Until the suffering is all ended, it would actually make the problem worse. Why? Because if I was to say, in fact, it wasn't me that said this, Elie Wiesel, who was a Holocaust survivor, was confronted by this Orthodox Jewish man. He kept saying to him, how could God let the Holocaust happen? How could he let the Holocaust happen? All this suffering. And he kept saying, I don't know. And then one day he says, actually, I have a reason. I know the reason. He said, really, tell me? He said, I can't tell you though. He said, why? He said, because if I tell you, you'll become a Nazi. He said, I'm an Orthodox Jewish man. I'm not going to become a Nazi. Are you crazy? He said, yeah, you will, because I'm going to tell you the reason, and then you'll say, oh, so that's the reason the Holocaust happened. Okay, now you're comfortable with 6 million killed in a genocide. If you get a reason now, well, there's still more work to be done, and it still has to be processed, and all you do is become accustomed to it. All you do is don't feel the need to fight it. And part of whatever this grand plan is, that we're meant to feel this need to do all we can to rectify this world, to partner with God in fighting the evil and fixing it. Why? I don't know. But the last thing God wants us to do is to feel comfortable with it. He wants us to hate it. And this is what leads to the last point, which is that there is this misconception people have, for those who believe, that God creates suffering, but he's sitting up there in heaven being like, they'll be okay in the end, because they know what's going on. Actually, when a parent sees their child suffering, who suffers more? The parent on an emotional level actually suffers a lot more than the child does. I'm talking about a healthy parent here. We have this notion that God sits on high, he's fine. Actually, it is God who suffers even more than us through this period of history of suffering and difficulty. And that's the mistake people make. So we're told that even when the Egyptians were drowning in the ocean, as the Jews were being saved, God told the angels not to sing because he said, my creatures are drowning. Even though they'd done terrible, unspeakable acts and they're being punished, he said, my creatures are drowning and you want to sing right now? How much more so for innocent people who suffer? Is God pained by what happens to them? So just because God needs something to happen in history doesn't mean it doesn't pain him deeply. It just means that sometimes when parents will take their doctor to get an injection, even though the child will scream and cry, they will still do it precisely because, for some reason, in this case we know why with the child, they have to do it. So we believe there is a why, we believe that God hates it, and God doesn't tell us why, partly because he wants us to be like him and want to hate it and fight it and partner with him in ending it. And why we had to go through this process of history, we believe we will know, but it won't be until a different period in history called the Messianic era. So in short, I can't give you an answer. I'm so excited to share with you something that I've been working on for a while. We've just taken JTV content to the next level. Introducing JTV Plus, a new platform streaming exclusive content created and handpicked by me. Get ready for jaw-dropping documentaries, exclusive interviews, insider access, and so much more. JTV Plus brings you captivating stories that will shock and inspire you, stories that honestly I'm discovering for the first time too. From Israel to Jewish history to Judaism, it's all there. In exclusive interviews, you'll hear guests open up about things they've never shared publicly before. Plus, I'll take you behind the scenes where I get a lot more personal with you. By joining JTV Plus, you're not just joining an exclusive community, you're partnering with me to help JTV reach new heights. Just search j-tv.plus and join our exclusive community today. There's a link in the video description. I'll see you there.